Hello, my friends, and welcome back. I'm Chisgule Gaming, and in today's video, we're going to be interviewing leaders of the Ark of Osiris League team for 2377. That's the kingdom I'm in, the Glory of Vietnam GV77. Joining me today for this interview, we've got Daria and Evrine. Welcome, and I'm looking forward to chatting today.
Thanks for having us.
Hey, how are you doing?
Good, man. You know, honestly, there's a lot that I want to talk about. I am relatively new to the kingdom, and as we chat here, I'm just going to pull up your accounts on screen. So before we start talking about Ark of Osiris League, and I see you guys are showing off the fancy Ark of Osiris League win skins over here. But before we talk about League, I'd love to learn a little bit about your journey in Rise of Kingdoms. When did you start playing, and how did you even discover the game?
So ladies first, I guess.
Absolutely.
That works.
So my name is Daria. That's the real name, actually. And I've been playing this game for more than 6 years now. And the fun fact, because we're talking about the Osiris League here, I actually got interested in the game when Ark of Osiris got into the game. First, I was just managing the team, like to make sure that people are coming who will be playing and so on. And then I was more and more interested in this part. So we met with Evrine quite a while ago, actually, in 2285. Am I correct?
That's right.
And we were playing Ark of Osiris there as well. That's how we started to team up as leaders, let's say that. I was running one side, he was running the other side. And then we migrated here. I was the first one because, I'm Russian, and our Russian community got invited to 2377 after they actually lost to 2K. That was, one of very little amount of losers in this kingdom. And we were like, they are fighting to the death. This is kind of kingdom we want to be in. And we got here. And then I told Evrine that this is the best place ever and that he might, that's the only thing he should be doing, actually. So that's how he entered this kingdom as well. So I'm going to pass it to Evrine now.
Thanks, Daria, and thanks, Cheese, for having us. I've started my rock adventure a little bit later than Daria because I started roughly 5 years ago. It was during COVID, during the lockdown, and I was just looking for something, to do basically with the free time. It's been an interesting journey ever since. I've had absolutely no idea what I'm signing up for when I started playing rock.
Yep.
I guess as most of us, I just loved it since. So I've developed my account. I've realized there are some additional modes like Ark of Osiris in this game. And the more I started playing, the more I was into Ark of Osiris in general. I think my first time when I've seen the Osiris League, I was like, oh, what it even is about, and I've had absolutely no clue. I was still very new to the game, but I observed some games, and I was like, well, one day I want to play at that level. And as Daria already mentioned, the rest is just the history. We went through 2285, and whilst Daria is saying we were co-pilots, the reality is she was doing all the work. I was just there to help and learn actually from her. So all credit to Daria for teaching me a lot throughout that journey. And once I've migrated to 2377, probably one KVK after Daria migrated in, it was probably the best time for 2377 in terms of Ark because they were freshly made champions. I think it was the realm of Bastet, if I remember correctly. Then I cannot claim, any sort of credit for that because that was way before my time. But the guys did an amazing job, inspired us all, and we started working on obviously improving the team even further.
Yeah, I pulled up the Road of Glory, which is kind of a cool feature of the alliance profile, and so I can sort of click in and see over the years how the ARC performance and KVK performance has been, which is kind of neat.
Mm-hmm.
So it gives those little trophies there. One question before we go into Ark of Osiris. I notice you both have the LMT in front of your name. Is that from when you were together in a different kingdom?
No, it's a funny story, right? Because
okay, this might be a little bit of a rabbit hole. Wait, is this video appropriate story or maybe another time?
It is very appropriate story. It is very appropriate story and should be absolutely good for the community. So LMT team was formed in Vietnam by our 2377 kingdom and our ex-king Shark and one of his real life friends, and Gok. So they have put LMT team together. And it actually happened that both me and Daria visited Vietnam at the same time and met up with the guys. So whilst we were chatting, we have asked about joining LMT team because we felt like, well, the avatar looks cool. I really like that. What do we need to do? And the guys were very welcoming. They have agreed for us to join them. And we've put the tag in front of our names and had it ever since, even though that, well, there's not many of LMT members left today.
Well, there is something that Evrine doesn't know. There was a kill point limit. Like you had to be over 10 billion kill point at that time. Ooh. But now for LMT members, that should be a bit higher probably.
Yes, these days that is pretty easy. I was wondering, there's all these different modifiers, like there's the LMT, there's the bad, and there's like a couple others floating around, and I've always kind of wondered like what some of those mean. That is really cool, and I think you point out something really important here, which is that Rise of Kingdoms community often extends far beyond the game, and it is really cool to hear that like you guys ultimately met up, and I know that's kind of unusual where folks get to meet up outside of like a official Rise of Kingdoms meetup. But I appreciate your sharing that story. That's really wild.
Yeah, it's been an interesting journey for sure. But 2377. If I would be about to name one thing which is unique to this kingdom, I would say is the community. And I know Rise of Kingdoms in general got great community, but it's honestly like a family in 2377. We're all on this together. There has been a lot of gatherings actually throughout the years, especially in Vietnam, where the original founders of 2377s come from. Daria, you want to add anything?
I was just, I agree with you completely on this one. And I think it's worth mentioning because a lot of people think that 2377 is a Vietnamese kingdom. Well, it's not for a long time. And the same applies to our Osiris League team, which is international for, I think, 3 seasons now. So
Correct.
ever after GV got that trophy.
It's funny. I like try to explain that this kingdom is extremely international, and I think most people like don't know what that would mean exactly. But like we've got voice chats, and when we're in KVK, like people are in different voice chats depending on what language they speak, because there's so many different languages spoken in this kingdom. So it is like a truly very international community, and I like noticed that very quickly when I got here.
Yes, 100%. And just to give people maybe a little bit of a flavor, right? So as I've mentioned, this team, GV team, was predominantly Vietnamese when we got here. Now, if I'm not mistaken, we do have about 5 Vietnamese members out of the 45 in the team. So, things have progressed, things have changed. We are still Glory of Vietnam. We will never let people change that name because we love it. Even though that has been mentioned even by Shark himself to get it changed so many times to express the international nature of the kingdom, but we just love it. We don't want to change it.
Well, I appreciate the history. There's a lot of that I actually didn't know about 2377. But I do want to shift focus a little bit, since the goal of this video is in part to learn more about the 2377 ARC teams. I would love to know more about how the ARC teams are kind of structured and managed, and without getting into like any of the competitive information or anything like too detailed, just like big picture. I think it'd be cool for people to hear, like, how many ARC teams do we have? Even though we're like a one alliance kingdom, I think there's multiple teams here, right?
Yeah, we had 4 registered, if I'm correct.
Yeah, we've had 4 teams at one point. And I think we've registered
Well,
either
let's
3
say
or 4.
there are 3 main, right? So the
Mhm.
main competitive ones, right? So the first one is GB77, the second, but let's not call it second. It's also a very, very good team, AO77. And the third one is also a great team run by Fantasy. That's a Vietnamese member who was one of the planners when they actually got the trophy as well. So they're running a just Vietnamese team as well. And we have a new formed team. I'm not sure if it's fully formed by now. That's the thing.
Okay. So a bunch of ARC teams here, a bunch of interesting people wanting to play ARC. It's funny because when I cast, I basically don't really play ARC. I just cast ARC. And so I am on the team. I think it just as a sort of reward for having done a good job in the last KVK, which I appreciate.
Yeah.
How it works. You either practice with us for a long time. We don't normally fit people just as backups, right? So for the first registration, we had plenty of free spots. So they were giving to players who actually contributed to the kingdom. And that has been always like that.
I think that's really cool. So just for perspective for people watching, like, you know, there's 30 plus 15, but like, you pretty much have the same 30 showing up to play every time, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Between 30 and 35, I would say, because obviously, you know, people have lives, right? This is the game after all. So sometimes we have to make changes, but we do have core 30, 35 members, I would say, which are normally playing. Yeah.
Yeah. I think that makes sense. Like having the same people doing the same roles and, you know, owning their sort of accountabilities is the way to go. I think that makes a ton of sense. Now, talking briefly about the team's record, I know I flashed that up on the screen, but the team has been an Osiris League champion. Now, it's funny, like going into this, I suppose I could have done a little bit more research into all the victories that you guys have had, but talk a little bit about the tournament performance of this ARC team.
Well,
Sure. Daria, you want to start?
Okay, yeah. Well, I've become one of the side members after the main victory, right? So that was a Vietnamese team and an English-speaking team, like sides-wise, right? And I think we got into top 16 back then. Then the next year it was top 4, which was probably the best result of the current members team. Actually, when we got a top 16, AO77 got a top 4.
Okay.
That's why I'm not saying that they're second. They are also a very, very good competitive team who are practicing a lot. Just there is a bit of luck in this thing sometimes.
Yeah, I mean, the draw you get, but I think that's good to acknowledge, like, the draw you get in ARC League obviously matters. And it, like, you know, depending on what bracket you end up in, I keep clicking the KVK screen here, it can definitely influence kind of where you end up.
Yep.
Yes, 100%. And you know, sometimes you can look at it different in a different ways, right? Because one year I remember we've had a very straightforward group and we didn't have much of a competitive games. And then suddenly when we got into top 16, we've faced a really good new team who managed to beat us. And that's why we've ended up the Osiris League on top 16, because we basically didn't practice enough. We didn't have enough competitive games. Then next year, we've had a really tough games from the group stage. And that prepared us really well for the next stages to come. And we've ended up in top 4. So, there's no right or wrong here. Having difficult matching, even in the group stage, is not the end of the world. It actually can help you.
Yeah. Yeah, no, having a hard match early actually is a blessing in disguise in a lot of ways, because it can uncover your weaknesses while you still have a chance to correct for them before it gets to single elimination, which is where you guys are at now. So if you were giving advice to a newer player who wants to get more serious about Ark of Osiris, what advice would you give them?
Can I answer to this one? Well, Evrine is the best example of that you can learn. This is something that you can just learn.
Yep, 100%. Ark is about getting to know the mode, getting to know the game, getting to know how you should be playing, and then implementing strategies, testing them, and practicing them, getting into some sort of almost automation stage where, members, 30 people, we're talking about 30 people playing at the same time for the same victory, actually, right? It's not easy to coordinate. And I know in KVK we've got many more than 30. However, in Ark of Osiris, you only have 1 hour. So even a little mistake by one member can be quite costly. That's why it's important for people to actually practice, to understand what they should be doing, and give their best when they're doing it.
I think that makes a ton of sense. Practice makes perfect, right?
Exactly. And even in this mode, it shows how you can do it. Like you meet up with another team, right? You practice with it. You see how they use skills and you're like, okay, they're using this skill now. What are they going to do in the field? So that basically for the next time, you will pretty much know how you can react.
So looking back on your years of playing Ark, what would you say is your most memorable Ark of Osiris League experience?
Daria, you want to start?
No, I have bad memory.
You could also do outside of Osiris League, just regular Ark. Like for me, I feel like my funniest experience, and I got this on camera, was when my city was getting swarmed over and over and over, and I was swarming an enemy city at the same time. And they ultimately ended up burning me. That was a pretty funny video. But that was definitely not an Ark League game. At least I don't think it was.
Sounds good. Sounds good. Well, I'll start then, because I do remember the exact moment, right? So the year when we got into top 4, before our quarterfinal game, leading into semifinals, Daria have said that if we're not gonna win this, she will quit the game.
Uh-oh.
So we had absolutely no choice as to win that game, right? And we did it. So that was my most memorable Ark of Osiris moment.
You put it all on the line.
Okay, I know the moment. So that was the stream. I was playing in a Russian team back then. That was Pokemon's, and you, Chiz, were actually streaming that game. Yeah.
Okay.
There were
I remember the Pokemons
moments
back in the day. Yeah. That's old school right there.
Oh, yeah. I think we got into top 16 back then as well. Yeah, so there were 2 moments when you cheered us up when we actually defended Sky Altar. That was like impossible to defend. And you were like, oh, they're going to lose it now. They're going to lose it now. And we still hold it, And then on the same video, you were like, oh, CPO in the field. And the CPO was actually, I think it was for capacity back then.
Yeah, okay. I believe that.
Yeah, you were just super funny on that one with CPO.
I would believe that. I love when I find like, Lohar in the middle of nowhere, and I was like, dude, how did he get here? All right, like
Well,
how did
Lohar
this
is
epic
a
commander make
no-go.
its way? Oh yeah. That's awesome. Well, so now shifting focus back to 2377 as a kingdom, what would you want players in the rock community to know about 2377 and its players?
Well, I think we mentioned the first thing, that we are an international kingdom, and it's very hard to explain for some reason for the others, but we're no longer a Vietnamese kingdom. And yeah, we mentioned that before. Second is, we are all very passionate about the game. Even some players quit. No one quits from the kingdom. Even Shark is around.
Yeah, I was going to say, I saw Shark's message that he's quitting. I was like, oh man, that sucks. I was enjoying playing with Shark, but he's still playing. He didn't quit. Like what?
Yeah, I don't know a single member from 77 who actually quit and, disappeared.
Yeah,
So,
that's
yeah,
a really powerful message, I think, as well. So 77, in a nutshell, 12 wins, 2 losses in KVKs. With recent loss against 1960, 93, and 3 AC kingdoms, um, a lot of people thought that 2377 will fall. They even thought about it more when Shark announced that he's retiring. He had good reasons for it, don't get me wrong, and it was not related to that KVK. Obviously, it's personal matters, so I'm not going to go into that. But one thing which I want to let the community know about is that 2377 is not dying. We are still out there. We are still full of potential. Yes, we lost second KVK. That happens, we move on.
Yeah. Yeah. I have enjoyed my time here so far, even though it's been very short. But I think I would echo your sentiments that like it was surprising to me how international this kingdom is. And also I think that's a great call out that the community is really tight here and that it's not just about winning, it's also about community. And like those, just because a kingdom is about winning does not exclude it from also being about community, which I think is really cool.
100%. After all, after that KVK, we've all spent a lot of time together on the voice chats, spending long hours on the voice chats, stupid hours sometimes, when especially you had to wake up next morning to work and you realize, oh, that's in 3 hours, so things like this do happen. And yeah, I think it's, it's creating great memories for those involved. So yeah, win or loss, we've been in it together, and that's what matters.
I love that. So I know we've covered a lot of questions and there's so much more I want to ask, but I also want to be respectful of your time. So I'll close on this one question, which is looking back on your time playing Rise of Kingdoms, and I know you both have been playing for 5 and 6 years. What advice or tips or tricks would you give to the version of you that was just picking up the game for the first time? If you could travel back in time and give yourself some pointers, what would you tell yourself?
Well, I think on this one, because I do take stuff very seriously. If I'm doing Ark of Osiris, I'm very serious about it. I'm looking for other videos of the other teams. I'm trying to analyze. I'm trying to come up with ideas. I'm rewatching every recording I did for every single practice. I'm probably the only person in the team who has recorded all of our practices. I have them all on YouTube, but that's my personal channel. And I would say that this is a game, it shouldn't be a stress. So just take it easy, enjoy it, and yeah, it should be fun,
I agree. As someone who takes things too seriously, I would say that's very good advice.
Very good indeed. And I couldn't agree with you more, Daria, on that one. And probably if I would be about to say one thing to myself, the 5 years ago would be, yeah, just enjoy and enjoy because, it's a game. You have to enjoy it. We're not here for a duty. We're doing it willingly. We're doing it, for fun. So whatever you do, do for fun. Don't cross certain things because I have seen people treating this game as life. I have seen people treating this game very, very seriously.
I would know
Probably
nothing
too
about what that's
seriously.
like, not to interrupt you or
I
anything.
no, 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 no. And I'm not talking about you, Cheats. Just to be absolutely clear, absolutely clear. But yeah, I think in our last KVK we have seen a lot of seriousness, and I think some people sometimes miss some fun. That's what
Yeah.
all I would say.
Yeah.
I will add probably one more thing. Don't invest in archers.
Oh, jeez. The Archer burn. It's funny because, at the time that we're recording this, we have a pass opening tomorrow, and Bara messaged me. He's like, Chis, what marches are you running for your 6 tomorrow? And I was like, I don't know. I'm going to have to think about it. Oh, no, I don't have to think about it. I'm just going to run one Archer march, and the rest is sorted.
There you go. There you go.
Yeah, GG. My tinfoil hat theory is that archers are going to come back with an insane vengeance in their next cycle. I think it's like all but guaranteed. So we'll see. I have a feeling that they're going to come back strong. But for now, money where my mouth is. One archer on the field for my 6 army comp. Well, thank you so much for your time. I really appreciate it. I know we've got past preparations to do, so I'll let you both get back to it. And you both have ARC preparations to do. So thank you again. I appreciate you. Thank you again to the makers of Rise of Kingdoms for sponsoring this video and encouraging creators to go and interview the folks that are running ARC teams. I think it's really cool. All right. And if you want to see some Ark of Osiris gameplay from GV77, what I'll do in the end screen is have some cards from casting on the official channel. I'll find some matches that they played, all right? Until next time, you have fun smashing your enemies. Take care, everybody.